It is 9 o'clock on January 8th, 2019. We'll call the Floyd County Board of Supervisors regular meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is to approve our agenda.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve our agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 2, public comment. That item that's always on there.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. That's usually our public comment. Item 3, review action regarding approval of December 26, 2018 and January 2nd, 2019 meetings and minutes. And they were in our packet or in some correspondence that we had.
I reviewed them, and the only, did you make that modification? I was not-
The bottom switch.
Roy did it this time.
Okay.
You passed the
Anyway,
test, you can stay.
I can move to approve the December 26th and January 2nd, 2019 meeting minutes.
And I will second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from December 26, 2018 and January 2nd, 2019. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 4, review action regarding approval of claims.
And I reviewed them, and I will make a motion to approve claims as submitted.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the claims as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 5, review action regarding construction manager selection for law enforcement centers / courthouse project. After a big day yesterday.
We did have a big day yesterday. I think the interviews went very well. The groups that came in, I think, were very organized and mostly very prepared, to answer our questions. I think that out of all of them, I know in our regroup afterwards, they're definitely, I think, whittled down to, maybe 2 that it was very close, and I will say that, and I'm gonna open that up for anybody else here. I know it's supposed to be the core team, which is, was Jeff gonna join us too? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
It was gonna, Prohaska is here, so we do have, a couple members of the Prohaska architect firm here, and they were also part of the interview process and also had a vote in this. So we are coming to the board with what we feel, I believe, is a good recommendation. I think what I especially appreciated, even as we all met afterwards, that it seemed a good consensus. And I guess I'll leave that up to the other 2 board members once we provide our recommendation to you, to go ahead and please chime in, and you sat and listened to all of them just like we did. And I think they would all be 3 good companies, but again, only one gets selected. So, would you like to say anything before we?
I think it was interesting, for me it was interesting, the 3 that we had originally planned from the core team had talked about interviewing. We had them all 3 ranked in a certain order, and that order did change a little bit after the interviews. But I feel that one did just kind of rise to the top a little more than the other 2.
So with that, and again, I want to reiterate, it was a close, it was a tight decision, but the one that the core team is here to recommend to the board for approval for the construction manager position is Samuel's Group.
And I would agree with that. I believe any one of the 3 could build that facility, but Sam will seem to show us a little more expertise, maybe in the jail. Detention, part of it, I guess, is what they refer to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with that.
And Supervisor?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the knowledge level that the Samuels Group brought forward with the detention part was far and above the other 2. They were all 3 very professional, and I think they would all do a good job, but Yeah, absolutely. The Samuels Group had the knowledge of our type of project.
And that's the main, I think, conclusion I know I had too. And I thought a lot about it even last night after we had, left our meetings. And I still feel good about this decision. And again, I agree with your statements. They bubbled up a little bit more on their ability to build the law enforcement center part of this project, which is the biggest chunk of what our project is about. I mean, we threw in the renovations to the courthouse. I'm sure they'll do a good job on that too. But we really needed to focus on what our project is all about. And the Samuels Group, I believe, was the best one in their presentation to demonstrate their expertise in being able to do that. All right. So with that, I would like to make a motion that the board approve the Samuels Group for the construction manager position to support our project. Okay. Go ahead and add all of this in.
I just didn't know if you put it in record.
The fee for pre-construction costs that they had defined was going to be a 0.5% or based off the construction budget of $11,460,025 and would be, their fee then is at $57,300. So that's the pre-construction cost part of this. Their fee for construction services is going to be defined as their 11.1.1. That itself would be at 2%. So again, they broke it down by the pre-construction plus the construction. And then there's also what they defined, they listed all of their hourly rates, for the people that would be supporting this project. All three companies have done that, so we had all this information. And then there's a following one that they call general conditions, and I believe sometimes it's called reimbursable. I've seen it, seems like both ways, for the project that they said should fall between 5 and 6%.
And with that motion, I'll second that.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve the Samuel Group as our construction manager for our project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to item 6, Dusty, you're on today.
It's, if you just dial 1102, you don't have to pick the phone up, you can just dial 1102.
I get them.
Just 1102.
Nobody's home.
Hi, this is Dusty.
Dusty, this is Doug up in the
Hey.
boardroom.
I'm on my way up.
All right, sounds good.
Alright.
Thank
Night,
you.
bye.
Somebody's home today. So you're in for the long drive back?
Part of the job.
Or are you around for the day?
Bill and I were doing a little tour, trying to get him up to snuff so he can start contributing more.
Take advantage of your time.
Yeah. Well, if I can speak,
Yes.
how do I get the brick that you said you were saving for us? Normally what we do when we don't get up here every day is hustle around thinking of ways to make the trip valuable.
Sure.
So you came for a break?
Well, this is one thing that she suggested would help us. We're in the middle of trying to match the brick.
That should be the brick all around the top part of the.
Yeah, I don't want to be too lofty or critical.
Construction management and project here.
But it's clear from looking at the exterior of the building that there was a number of bricks used, and the one that was matched the last time isn't a perfect match either. And this is the last.
If you would talk to Randy, give him Randy.
I got the order for it, it's the Belden.
So yeah, this is a Belden brick, and we've started talking to Glenn Gary, who carries Belden brick. And they claim they have 59 brick lines, and so I said, this is not as bright as the lower level of the building. So if you got something that's a little more the color of that, he said, we'll work on it. If we have to blend, maybe we can do that. So a little extra effort to blend usually pays off. Some people settle on a brick selection quickly, and I think it's wise to try a little harder. So I am confident we'll get something out of this
I
group.
remember when Randy was doing that tuck point, they were having a hard time finding that one that matched.
And then it'll help us a lot.
Because
that
the other
this
ones
is-
soaked up too much water.
It'll help us a lot that this appears to be
Yes, we
Yeah.
are ready.
a separate building, you know, across the glass.
Yeah, we're ready for you. Imagine that.
I don't even know what's on the agenda, so I have no idea.
Right now, we're in discussion with county engineer, we got any secondary roads, and then,
On the
Oh, I'm sorry.
two pending ones, it's discussion. Is there
we're actually on item 6, which is discussion relative to drainage district work for number 4 and number 25.
Sure.
Unless you want to move to the other one first.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't know what, usually when we get those work orders, Martha just sends them up here and you guys put them on the agenda, so I probably didn't even see it.
And then it looks to me like
Do you
we,
have any other?
Nope. I mean, I'll see the work orders and then I just told them to just put them on there. Well, that's, north of the school, elementary school, and then on the east side.
which one are you on?
Drainage 4 is the first one, correct? Is that what
Yep.
one says?
Number 4?
Drainage is number 4. Yeah, back there, it was wet behind all those houses. You go north of town, and then behind the houses, we did some work back there. They said we left some ruts. I think she called and said, county repair calendar this year. I remember reading this one, since then, it's been even worse. Higher grade, which makes the water run off property. Kelvin looked at it, area behind the house is very wet, not caused by repairs done in the spring. So checked out, outlet at Hires Creek is open and flowing.
This one's gonna kind of, isn't this one gonna get affected by the
Ball
new
diamond.
Yeah.
Ball diamond?
Huh?
Is Davenport that did the complaint to you?
Hoppenworth?
But Davenport has often complained about issue, fixed a lot of houses.
Yeah, because it was a little
lot of-
sandy area there back behind, and then they fixed a couple times. This one, they fixed it. Found a problem somewhere, but could not find who to investigate yet this fall, so, I mean, that was, you know, what type of summer we had last year too, so I can't really say much either way.
If you're looking for wet ground, that's about all in northeast Iowa, isn't
Pretty much.
it? Do we have to
So this is just you informing
fix some
us?
fund balances?
This one, the work isn't completed yet, is there pending yet, I guess? Not sure what's
So it's
pending.
fund balance $667.
That's, we just put that note on there.
Okay.
But there's not a total cost yet, maybe the work hasn't been submitted.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the wet grounds, I mean, in the pictures and all that, and that's
Right.
just basically
Right.
saying the ground was wet, and we had a crazy summer last year, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
There may be some other tile things, but hard finding some of those, so there's, unless they do exploratory work. Doesn't look like there's a bill on this one, you're right, it was, we went and looked at it,
Yeah.
and in that exploratory work, we don't really do anything. If we start to dig stuff up, then we'll have a cost expended.
Okay, so this is more an FYI at this point.
Yeah, that's what I would think, yeah.
Okay.
So that was 4, which one do you want to go to next?
25 is next one.
25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sinkhole,
130th Street. Road.
into- that was topping. Down the Puds sinkhole is getting bigger. It's gonna be over north of Rudd and back east on
Right.
130th.
Right.
So that would be something probably that they'll be doing for tour. We have a map of sinkholes everywhere that we're trying to figure out what to do and when to do it. And a lot of these, if it's a tile in the drainage district, will
Typically,
Go
they're
to
not
it at times.
sinkholes, they're a broken tile that sucked water.
that suck the water in and the sand, so.
Sucked under.
Want to know how many we have on our property? A
Hmm.
lot. This year was really tough.
But I think we're instructed by you guys to, or at least Gloria and you guys to put these on the agenda so you know what they're coming
Right.
up, because there's gonna be bills coming if we go to do the work, so.
Okay. Next,
Some more.
the others I think are on the next line item. So that's the only two for this one line item on the agenda?
Those are
Those
the
12
things that have all had work
13.
completed.
I see these workers when they come through, but then it's just a matter of us sending them up to you guys to.
13 tile caved in and flagged.
And then we'll, that's gonna be, 170 Hilton, south of 170 Hilton Field. That was, this is Mark, Kurt Mark. And then we went out there, flagged it once, we went look for it and couldn't find it, and then we went out there and flagged it again, and we finally found it out in the field. That's Drainage District 3, isn't it? Yeah, 3. Yeah. Just remember that one, that's the big one, that's, the tile's bad, built the whole thing.
Which one's that one on?
I know, I'm trying to,
13?
what were
Three.
888.
Work order 763, that was on, sorry, that was the one I had.
I think I named the
There,
files for
got
you.
it.
The files are named that I had.
Well, these just pop up as an
DG.
auditor copier. So as long as I can bring it, work order
Tell me which one you wanna look at.
763. I've got
763.
763.
We have drainage
They can
district
help them.
numbers, we don't have work orders in the.
Drainage District 3.
Yeah, Drainage District 3 is work order 763.
Got it.
Which drainage district is it?
3?
3?
Yeah, it's out west of town,
Okay.
west of T38 by 170th. That's a big one, if you look, that's the big sucker that goes all the way over, almost to Rudd, and then all the way back
Yeah.
down to, it's almost 7 mile corner. Deep.
And that comes through like this, I assume.
It is.
This is
Then
one
when
I
you-
saw. It
when
said
you bring
fund
them
balance
up,
is
download them,
short.
They change the file names.
What's that?
This
But
is
it's
one
just
I
yours
saw,
on
the
your
fund
phone.
balance is short.
Yes.
Amanda. The fund balance is short, do we need that?
Right.
Yeah. you-
Yep, it's short
The
16.
total bill for that repair out there was the 226119.
Oh, boom, 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 boom.
It was only a balance of
Makes
619.
it easier.
Evidently not.
No, you're doing
But
it.
that was town repair, so that's why she has it on there, that they're short. There's 61986 in the balance, short 1640133.
So do we need to fix that
So we need to,
fund balance today?
Yes.
we have to take
Yeah.
action on that. How do we normally,
You determine how much you think is appropriate to keep for
a fund balance?
future repair, a little bit, minor repair.
Is
But
there
again, remind
just
me though,
one
that-
balance?
So this is all that's in the drainage district number 3 balance.
Correct.
Okay, so it could be other repairs that could come
Yep,
up.
sorry, I'm stealing your copies.
That's right.
So is there only one fund for that whole entire number 3?
Yeah,
It's not split up.
I don't think it's split up, I think that's a main goal.
So I guess my
Yeah.
It's never
question
gonna be
would,
classified, so it's all one.
Right.
so you guys are getting these,
Yearly, constantly.
I know, but I mean, this year was a bad year, so do you believe, I guess my question to you is that there's going to be more that are coming in?
I wouldn't down to 3, because 3 is the one that's really shallow, and it's just one that's 100 years old. I
So
think.
if we increase the fund balance, we just need to take that in consideration.
Yeah, and you're doing it every time that we kind of kick some back.
So you need a minimum of $2,500 in that one. No, I'm sorry, a minimum of 1,000. You have 619.
A balance of
Short.
1,000.
That just covers that.
That does, you know, if you had another project
Covers.
like this one,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to cover it out.
So
But you want your-
pick a number, 5,000. You want some ahead? That would give you 4,000.
Give you a little ahead of-
That would give you a balance of 4,000 for as big as that is.
And the large, because it's that size, it does get spread over quite a large property, you know,
You'd probably do like a 3,000.
potential
That's what I was
property
kind of
owners.
leaning towards, is maybe 3, because I mean, even if it goes
Yeah.
over again, we're just back in front of us again.
Yeah.
Pick a number.
I guess I would say 3,000, and then we normally,
Then you'll allow
Really?
spreads for anything over 500 or 5% interest.
So we're talking about a $3,000 balance, Linda?
and 5%.
10 years spreads for anything over $500, and
I think think it would be 3,000 and then.
So Doug's
you do
5,000 is not that far off.
Pick a number.
Leaves us a $3,378 balance.
I think the way it looks is you're $1,600 short, basically, in other words.
Well,
So,
I'll make a motion that how do we do that? We have to,
For anything over $500, you do a 10-year spread and 5% interest. That would be done.
okay, so I'll make a motion that we assess a $5,000,
You do a $5,000.
$5,000 fund fee to the Drainage District 3. And we do a 10-year spread at 5%. And we make it available a 10-year spread at 5% interest for the payment of that.
If that's your motion to
if
do so.
that's, yeah.
That's my motion.
Okay. All right, I'll second that.
okay, then moved and seconded to assess a $5,000 assessment to Drainage District 3 with anything over $500 at a spread of 10 years and an interest rate of 5%. All those in favor
Just
signify by saying
in clarification on that, that's an offer to the property owner to do that. They can pay it all at once if they want to. They don't have to spread it,
okay.
And only if they're over the 500.
only if it's over 500. Okay,
500.
thank you.
Okay,
All right.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So the next one is, we did 3,
13. It's work order 888.
13.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Tile repair there,
that's done.
808.92, which you're short about 50 bucks.
What about
That's
your
okay.
assessment on this one for 13? I mean, is that in the same boat or not as bad as Drainage
Well-
District 3?
I think that one's.
Mark on that.
Yeah. It's a smaller one, it's north of the trustee one, that's north of Long Rock. I don't see that as nearly as probably, like I said, 3 is so huge, you know, it extends 10
Right.
miles basically.
Yeah.
13, you're within a couple miles. I don't know, I wouldn't say you need a lot in there, just sometimes something pops up. And then we'll maintain with that one.
500,000.
I was gonna say probably. I wanna make a motion, let's go ahead and assess it at $1,000. And again, with the same statement that anything over 500 has a 10-year spread at 5% interest.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, then moved and seconded to assess Drainage District
13,
13.
13.
Drainage District 13, $1,000 with the same caveats as the other one. With the interest spread, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And the last one is 17, which is work order 831.
Yep. Found down to low, there was looks like a tile outlets and a couple holes in there. That's out by 7 Mile Corner, mile east and south. Was Wayne the one that came in and Culver?
That one's hard to read, so
Yeah,
help
Wayne
me
came
out,
on
the
that one.
fund balance,
It's $245.
okay, and you're short 1,224.
Correct. So,
Same question on this one.
2 spots, I mean, basically it opened up. I mean, you look at pictures on there and it kind of shows. some
That
trees
right
there.
into Little Cedar?
It goes into Beaver Creek.
Okay.
Because that's about 6 miles west, and then south of 14. There's a cemetery right there or something like that too.
Well, it's actually just north of Marble Rock then, isn't it? Between Marble Rock, yeah,
Yeah.
just north of Marble Rock, I see it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Right above,
Yeah.
oh, that's not there,
13's over here, this is
13's over there.
17's over here, just south of the cemetery, if you go up just south of 14.
Okay.
That's what Wayne has some property over there, Wayne's when we called that in, and looks like they replaced the
And
whole
it is
tile,
17.
the old tile outlet was junk, and repaired a couple holes and. Yeah.
It's not a very big district either.
No,
is
it's
it?
not, it's not.
Why don't I make a motion to assess that at 2,500? And again, that'll go with the 10-year spread of anything over $500 with 5% interest.
How much?
2,500.
2,500. Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to assess drainage district number 17, an assessment of $2,500 with same caveats, with interest and payments as before. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And 11?
And then the.
And then last was the
Washington
priority
watershed.
area, that's the Washoe watershed, it's north of town up there. It's gonna be east and south of Red Roof Auction.
That one.
Oh, yeah.
WW1,
There's
yeah,
always-
that
There's
is.
all this stuff going on in the
Yes.
Washoe watershed, it seems like.
There is.
Floyd County actually pays a little different percentage than that
I
one.
think we pay 25% of that, and the city pay 25, and then everybody else splits at 50.
So we handle that the same as the other drainage districts?
Generally, it just gets assessed differently, yeah, because it's a,
The assessment is different, the management is the same.
Okay.
maybe short of just over $1,000 there.
And that's another one that seems like there's always something.
There's always
Jim
something.
Frisbee seems to come in a
on.
lot, because he's got a lot of ground there, and then he kind of pinpoints where everything's at when he calls in.
Let's go, I'll assess it at 3,000 on this one. And again, same thing, anything over 500 with a 10-year spread at 5% interest.
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded to assess Washington watershed drainage area number 1, $2,500 with the same caveats as before. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Fill us in.
I got nothing.
You have nothing.
Just kidding. Well, with the holidays and all that, you know, there was a little bit of snow operations going on, nothing too crazy. I think we went on
I
Friday.
missed the bullet again last night.
We've been really lucky,
Yeah,
haven't we?
knock on wood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've had a little bit, I think they went on Friday the 28th before New Year's. I don't know if they went out at all. They didn't go out on any of the holidays of the weekend. I think we had more rain, which helped. I went out and checked just because some freezing spots over there.
Did much of the water go down in the ground, or most of it's running
I
off?
think most of it was running off. You can see a lot of it. I think you still got some frost on the ground. I think the warmer weather has decreased the frost, but you know, you drive a lot of the gravel roads right now, and like I was driving some yesterday, and the top 2 inches is just slop
So
because there's no place for the water to go.
tonight is gonna tighten up a little.
Yeah, and the cooler weather will help. I mean, today it seemed like it was a little better, but we could use the 20-degree temperatures for a while just to firm everything up. Other than that, they're doing a lot of brushing, which is good. Get the boom mowers out, you got hand cutting stuff and treating stuff. As far as brushing the ditches, that's the perfect time for that, so.
195th Street
Good.
Bridge.
195th, we've got the right of way basically all signed off on that. That's the one we'll be letting and doing, that's north of the fairgrounds and back west, that's been closed for a couple of years. That'll be in my budget for,
Did you guys remove it?
yes, we can move most of it, yes.
Okay.
Some of the stuff we couldn't get out was kind of frozen in, so most of the structure is gone, and then we did a clearing and grubbing there that had to be done prior to the construction of the bridge itself. But we just signed off last week on all the right-of-way for Johnson's and Rodemaker. So that will probably be on the agenda for signatures coming up here shortly too. Designing stuff for next year's day labor stuff, culverts. Budget was the big stuff working on that. FEMA paperwork, I just submitted the last stuff Well, I got one more thing to submit. Mark has been working on all that stuff. We just do submittals and then sign off on the project worksheets for all the FEMA paperwork. Just sign, the last one is the culverts, and that one, Martha, we just reviewed that, and she'll be submitting that, and then when it comes back from their project worksheet, then I sign off on that, so. All that should be basically done for FEMA stuff, which is good.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
Breakage Bridge, anything?
No, it's basically on hold, yeah, and we'll probably play out through, I would assume that, we get some, depends how the spring goes. If we get to March and April, they may start coming in around then to start decking. It just depends how that weather is.
There we go.
So it's sort of on hold-ish, everything else kind of, a lot of brushing going on, that's the biggest thing right now, because can't do anything else. I mean, they were out there scraping a little this morning before it freezes up harder, 'cause it's supposed to get colder. But you don't want to be on it too much either because it's so sloppy too.
Yeah, it's
So if
just
there's
making
any
it
weather-
worse.
Yeah. Boy, that's about all I really got, right? In the budget stuff and replacing signs as needed and doing sign inventory so we know what we've got to order for new signs. Starting to work on probably asphalt plans too for some of the, you'll see when we talk my budget later. Some of these other roads that are in the program but there's no money for, like, I would say, through Rudd, north of Rudd, down to 346 from Rudd, in the town of Marble Rock, north of North Springs, things like that that are in the program per se, some of them are, but there's not enough FM dollars, so we'll do typically, like I said, like we did on the Saragordo County line this year, where we just mill and fill and kind of go forward, and that'll gain us 20 years worth of, at least. So starting to work on some of those plans too.
T-38 is not for another.
Right, it was gonna be this coming summer, but we didn't have the FM funds to cover it, so. That's about it, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for the update.
Yep. We're gonna wait for budget, which I'm at
Do you want to do
10:30.
these now?
I don't care, we don't have to go by time per se.
Item 9, fiscal year 20 departmental budget reviews.
Okay.
I think you'll have Dusty's.
I do have, one talk to get for
Taking
that.
that time down.
I think, yeah, we can do it right now if you want.
Well.
You guys have time.
Is that the one
5
that's
minutes
laying
thing
here?
or whatever.
Yeah, can we take just 5 minutes?
Let's do-
real quick?
Come
We're
in,
not gonna
is
read this,
that
so-
you?
One thing just before we get into the budget, the collection site out at the fairgrounds. I've got to call in Alan Paul at Genjo because that compactor we have out there was built, we got that in 1996.
We've been talking about that.
I know we have, and I did not put anything per se in that budget for that. But that might be something, here it is, here's this. But when we bought that one in 96, I pulled the file on it and it was like, I think about 20 grand. I think it was 11 something for something and then there was another 8 for another
Bunch of
thing.
them out there in his yard, I don't know.
So I just wanted, I gave him a message, he was out in the truck, because we just talked about it this morning, he said, you can do anything with that? I'm like, I had the budget done, and I'm like, you know what, I need to bring it to the board's attention, so there is, as far as, I think the line item it would be, closure, not that one. So this is, when we get to that budget, at least have in, it's not in there right now, but if we have to add something for equipment, per se,
Do we have a separate one for,
yeah, there's a separate one, yeah.
for the,
For the
Number
collection
40.
site. Number 40, yeah. Well, I just figured I'd bring it up now since she was doing that, and then if you want, we can talk about when we get to that one.
yesterday the fair board was in here and solid waste.
But you don't have a number.
No, I don't. In 96, that combination cost 20 grand basically.
Yeah,
That's 11 or 12,000.
Could be
for one thing,
100,000
and then-
today.
But I'm not sure what we need. That's
Right.
That's out of my realm of understanding what piece of equipment it is. More talking with him, and the sheet I showed like 11 or 12,000 for one piece, and then another 7 or 8,000 for another. So I was thinking 20,000. Now I don't know what prices come and go, and maybe they're more.
Right.
Price steals up, but that doesn't mean anything 20 years later.
Do we piece it together or do we
Yeah.
replace the whole
And we've
thing?
been,
or- Yeah.
The Fair Board was in yesterday and they said they talked about running some water lines. Well, I'm sure they're running one up there by that trash collector putting in up there. They talked about running water lines out to that campground out to the.
Oh, yeah.
A long ways to run water. It's a long ways to run water.
Yeah.
Okay, budget.
They'd never be sewer.
So we have,
Where do you want to start?
Which one?
is that one that was given to us?
You want to start with mine? Mine is when we get
20.
back to the other ones, 20, yeah.
20? Okay.
And I have my little sheet, because I have everything broken down in the specific line items, you guys just have the categories. So as we go through, you're just gonna have to ask questions, like, we start with page 1 of 20, that was, category 20, which is mine. The 208,500, basically that is 1/3 my salary, along with all the splits on that as far as insurance like IPers.
Did you
And-
use 2% on the increase?
That's what I was gonna ask too, because I'm not sure on this one.
I did, you guys better, I should start fresh again.
Because you're not covered by the,
I did, I believe, 2.5 on everything. So that if it's below that, fine, if it's above that, fine.
so it's 2.5 you used. Okay.
2.5 or 3. Mine has, you gotta remember, I have overtimes and figuring all this stuff. The union
Right.
contract was already figured. So that was at the 2.5, I believe, the union contract was.
So you use that number for all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might fluctuate, so that if it's more than that, if you guys decide to give a 10% raise or a 0, that, things won't change, it's gonna be.
Well, it's just the number, yeah.
I know I said that.
Depending if the
Yes,
raise goes up or
I
down.
understand what you're saying.
To,
Up or down.
right. What's that, yeah. Before I go any further, let me just, I preface into going into this because that way you guys understand where this all comes from. Had to get to this. Okay,
Christie, just so you know, the two boards intend to have a joint meeting.
The
on
28th.
February 28th.
yeah, you'll be getting the comp sheet from me like normal.
So are you thinking it's here or there?
It's there.
It is there, okay, because I
That's what
knew
they
it
told
was.
me, 'cause they came here last year.
I know, and I had heard from one of them, it almost sounded like they were planning on coming here, so I just thought I'd ask you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, good point. Okay,
The only thing I think that maybe potentially could change that is if the leadership wants to have a meeting with the 4 counties, that then we have all of them get together at the same time.
At the same time, yeah, that would make sense.
alright, just preface going into this now, when I do my budget, just so you guys are aware of it, all these line items on the right are all labor costs. So between office staff, all the workers, and this is my sheet, you guys don't see this at all, okay?
Mhm.
So just so you're aware of it, and then I get to the very end and I total up all the labor costs. But what I also do is Martha pulls this together for me is we figure out, here's the wages based on union rates and the percentages of my office staff. Basically you come down and you also figure, average overtime, because it's based on, we're gonna have a bad year, good year, a mild year, I don't know. Floods throw off the winter years, so I mean, we still pay people, so I have to do an average of 5 years. So that's where that comes in, comes all the way across. Insurance is in there, and that was a big bump this year, to a point of here's all totals that I would typically run, along with maybe a potential of a summer help wage. 2,163,516. So what I have to do then is I have to make sure that I have about that much in covering that number. So when you see all these wages in here, that's based on the average overtime. So just want to touch that first before we go any further. So yeah, that first stuff is then, that's also Janet and Martha in my office. And then everything else is pretty typical, your postage, your office supplies, union negotiations. That's, it hasn't run more than 3 or 4 grand, so I went from 10, I lowered that to 5,000. So that's my number is fairly close to what it was before. The insurance is probably the biggest bump in a lot of these things because we did absorb the insurance increase within each office, not put it to the employees. Second part is the engineering. That is 2/3 me and Brian and Dwayne in my office. That's based on average overtime too, with projects throughout the summer. So I mean, that's just I look back at past histories at least to see where that kind of falls in, whether we get to that point or not, so it's kind of a hit or miss. Engineering equipment, like I said, I'll go through mine so you guys can know what else comes out of that. Any of the schools or trainings we go to, material testing, bridge soundings when we do any of our archaeological stuff for a lot of our bridge projects. Also our outside engineering services for a lot of the bridge inspections that is required by the federal government. One thing I did add this year in there, and that did bump a little bit, I added 30,000, and that is all of our, something we were invested in before I started. Lyle's got into this with the assessors. Every 3 miles we have a surveying monument out in the county. It's a GPS monument. It was the assessors pushed us, that's where we had the flyover. There, I've been dragging my feet for about 7 years because I keep getting the company that put all this stuff in and works with the state coordinates and all that fun stuff, is that we have not updated any of these monuments. And there's a slight variation, they keep adapting to statewide coordinates and national coordinates of where these monuments are. And does it help me a lot? Not necessarily, but it's good for the surveyors. And in 2022, there will be an adjustment where these monuments may be up to 2 feet off, elevation-wise, which is not good, and
You had mentioned that.
yeah.
Do they actually move that much? Or is it just that we have
The
better
more
equipment,
accuracy,
more
more
accuracy?
accuracy. And so
More
what,
accuracy.
the company that put it in, Corbin Incorporated, basically has been pulling it. I am probably one of the, there's probably 2/3 of the state and county-wise have done this already. I just drove my feet 7 years.
In the old days, supposedly when that GPS first started, it was some unscrambled military
Yeah.
something or other, and so they were never
So,
thinking they were real
and
accurate.
this year, I'm also getting a sort of discount. If Chickasaw goes, Howard County's gonna do it. I talked to Chickasaw yesterday at the budget hearing. My supervisor's there, and then Howard County's gonna do it. We're like the last 3 in this northeast part of the state. Winneshiek's done it, Butler's done it.
Where's that at?
Yeah, where do I see that? Is it
You'll
on
see that in the 159-100 on page 2 at the top. See, it went from 129-100 to 159-100.
100, yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Just above the 433-900, that circle.
Okay, so that's updated.
So that bumped that up a little bit on page 2. So if you see the 433, see, I have all my individual line items, you guys don't
I
see
know,
that.
but that's why we're
But
trying
that's
to
why it
relate
went
it
from
to
the
a line item.
129-100
To 159.
to 159-100, that
Yeah,
was the major bump
30,000.
there. And I did it in Chickasaw too, I decided that now's the time to jump. It won't happen till after July 1st, which gets it closer to, year 22 is when the major change comes, but to get everything updated, they're gonna go do a recognizance, find every marker out there, if they're not there, reinstall them. Because there are some that get run over by farmers and whatever.
So is this a
Take
fee you
$10,000
pay to a company? That's gonna
What's
come, is there a company
Yeah,
that's gonna
yeah,
come in and
yeah.
do this?
It's the same company that installed all of them in the county to begin with. And this was 20 years ago.
How much is it?
You're probably talking around 25, and then there's another, if there's another update of $4,500 that can be done in office, so. Doing all 3, Howard County, Chickasaw, and Floyd, we save about, a couple $1,000 if we do all 3. They're on 6-mile grid, we're on 3-mile grids in both Chickasaw and Floyd, but. Lyle started this a long time ago, they worked with the assessor's office, that got us the LiDAR, flyover stuff information, and when I look at the map, and we're one of the few counties that have done it, does it help me? Not necessarily, but surveys are always coming in, what's gonna help is them being more accurate, and that helps the constituents of the county. Because then their fees may go down, accuracy, all the points that are there that they utilize, because they come, a lot of surveys come in and we give them that information for free. So, but, okay, that's that. And if I go through fast, you guys gotta interrupt me, don't hesitate to interrupt me. And we get to the end, we get questions or whatever too, so. Next one would be bridges and culverts. That's the, I'm gonna get to the right page on that one, because I skipped mine on this one. So this is all the, this is not day labor project, these are bridge maintenance projects, culvert projects, anything, crosswalk culverts that we maintain, any box culverts that are in the county.
That Calhoun and Burns, is that on a schedule or is that a
It's every year they do half the bridges in the county. And then next year they do the other half, and some of them are on a 12-month cycle. But that would have been back in that same line with the engineering up there for that survey stuff.
Okay.
This is all bridge, pipe, and culvert work that our bridge crew basically, or drainage crew will be working with. Nothing crazy there. I did up a little bit because at the end of this, I'll talk about the day labor projects, and I went from 4 to 3, knowing that we have some more maintenance issues we have to deal with rather than just a bridge replacement project.
Mhm.
Hence why this is up a little bit just for box culvert labor or culvert labor. And that's where the $15,000 more is basically. Then we get to roads, which is probably your rock resurfacing. Get to that page. It's gonna be over here. Okay. So rock resurfacing, basically, my price per ton last year average was $11.1399, so $11.14. I throw a 3% increase in there, basically gets me at $11.474 per ton. We typically use about 100,000 ton worth of rock on the road when we contract let it, and then that gets me to $1,148,000. Spot rock of 150,000 is pretty typical for me. I do 75,000 in the spring, 75 in the fall. Usually I just kind of use that as an average. Gets me to 1,298,000, which gives 1,300,000 for rock. That's pretty typical as far as that goes. Last year I think I budgeted. Oh, I can't remember because we had to amend that because of the floods this year. What did I have last year? Did that change originally?
Anyway, you spent about 1.4.
1,155,6. So I think I added $1 million in there. Yeah, because we amended it to $1 million more. Previous year I was at 1.2 million, and then I probably was right around that 1.2. So nothing changed on it as far as rock goes. It's just a matter of the 3% increase, which typically happens every year. Labor is about the same. Like I said, when I go through labor numbers, those have to match the spreadsheet that tells me all the labor I need to cover. One thing I did add in this one, this is why this one is a little higher too compared to your original 1,556,000. I talked about this earlier, about there are, just like we did the Saragordo County line, I threw $400,000 in there for doing some of these roads with maintenance dollars that are not in the program that need to be done. North of Now's Corner to the county line, through Marble Rock, north of Rudd, south of
What
Rudd.
are you talking about doing, like an overlay or something?
Similar to what we just did on Saragordo County line, mill it and fill it. There's this new high pro stuff that they're utilizing, they're doing heavy asphalt content on it. So there is a $400,000 increase here. But that being said, I have to go back to, let me circle back to, here's my state budget, which is what we'll review after we do the county budget. Right now, with all this budget numbers that I've given you, I have basically $900,000 carryover. That will be better than that when we get to the end because of refunds. I don't want to be less than that, but that did add $400,000 in there for maintenance projects. I could pull that out and wait a year. You know, if I didn't do a bridge 2 years ago with 100% local dollars, and if I didn't decide to do a bridge north of the
We can
fairgrounds.
adjust it later
We
before
can,
we
yeah.
give it back.
Right,
Right.
right.
What I'm saying is that I got $400,000 in there to do, 6 miles of asphalt that needs to be done that is not in the program. It's more of a maintenance thing. So,
So that,
yeah. So, if I waited a year, my fund balance would even get that much better, and I need to keep spending this money. We need to do this maintenance things on these roads that I have not done in the past, because there's not enough federal dollars nor farm to market dollars to cover everything. And that's that sheet of that farm to market sheets I shared with you guys before.
right.
And I will get to that and sharing that in the near future again too. So that one is up because of that. I added $400,000 to do some, just like we did on the Saragordo County line. If you drove that road before, it was worth doing it because the cracks on there were going nuts. So you mill an inch off and you put back 1.5 inches of new stuff and you should be good for 20 some years. So we need to do that in some of these other stretches in another program. So that one is $400,000. It's higher than what it was in the past. I thought about going more, but I didn't want to get that fund balance carry over that any lower than that. Because I had to survive the first 3 months on my carryover balance before I get taxes. Nothing else too crazy on that. That was probably the biggest thing, is the asphalt projects that we look at doing. Nothing there. Okay. Then we're at snow and ice control after that. That total of the road shows that about 400,000 right there exactly. The original was 2,257,000, 2,652. So, but snow and ice control then basically it's your normal. Nothing's changed. Those numbers have been the same all the way through. Price of sand and salt. Yeah, nothing crazy. Just some more labor costs just to cover what that increase was. So my total there was a 419 compared to 409. Two $5,000 increases in labor just because to match my spreadsheet. And then traffic control is basically your signing operations. Signing operations in my past has shown that I've been actually higher than what I've actually ever budgeted, it seems like. So I did increase that a little bit to cover the labor cost. My small portion, which is about 10 grand for pavement markings, which we'll be letting this year in the next couple months. We just pay for the local stuff out of that when everything else comes out of the farmer market. So that total is just increased because of the labor. What's the next one? Road clearing. Road clearing is basically your brush cutting, which we're doing a lot of that right now, spraying operations and mowing during the summer. Those numbers increased just a little bit for labor. That's the only thing that's really in there is labor. If we need to buy any small whatever, it comes out of the road clearing budget right here. And then at the end of the year, whatever left over in the road clearing budget, which you guys approved, then I get reimbursement for these
Let's get
operations.
over the mold that comes through the,
Yeah, it comes through me. No, I pay it myself. But if we need like some pesticides or some spray stuff or maybe some blades, I don't know, it kind of minimize here and there. So we may do directly out of that other, whatever that is. 41. Category 41. Then we get to equipment, which is what you guys said a month ago had passed about as far as equipment goes. That's for the 3 tandem trucks that are on order and will be delivered sometime, hopefully next fall, November, December. That shows those 3 line items there, which
So that's 3 trucks.
3 tandem trucks. And then we're talking about some other spray equipment and things like that, so I bumped it another 30, and whether we need one more pickup truck or not. You know, pickup trucks right around usually 25 or 30. So that's why it's at the 660. And then you have the, whatever for the labor, which is about 10 grand. Then you get down to equipment operations, parts. This is servicing, any of the service that mechanics do. I don't think anything. I lowered the gas and diesel just a little bit because it seems like we've been continually running low on those, which is good. You know, in the bad years, I mean, the price is low now.
back up again now.
Yeah, it'll go up, but
Yeah.
even with the higher prices or, you know, mid-road prices, we were still going under what I budgeted, so I kind of tweaked that down a little bit. So that actually just saved you a little bit there, but. Probably the increase there was the labor stuff, and that's, you know, that's talking the insurance along with everything else. Then you get down to tools.
Can you get back up? That equipment
Yep.
operation, is that what the CBTC center
Some of that stuff will
expenses come out of?
Some of that will come out of there. Depends how they categorize that out when it comes to the CBTC. I mean, if we're doing anything, like as far as working on some of the out shops or the servicing of the equipment, I mean, that's like I said, changing oils and winter servicing. There are things that just, when it doesn't fall under a different category, we'll just charge it out of that. Sundry labor. A lot of that does come from the CDTC operations, which we get billed directly from the city from our portion. Tools, right, that's in that. Nothing's anything crazy there, that's where we buy all of our like stockpile material, our lumber, our piling, our signposts, our metal pipe that we bid out every year. Concrete pipe, reinforcing steel for making our box culverts. Our signs, our guardrail, that's pretty typical. I don't think there's anything too crazy there, I kinda just go by what previous years have shown what we spend, and then if I need to adjust it at all. And then the last part, well, not last part, then you've got real estate and buildings. Don't have anything crazy there. I know I need
Actually,
to probably,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's down.
I had budgeted in this year's budget, you know, for looking at, we always talked about a shop, a bigger shop to centralize out of Rockford.
Yeah.
And I have 100,000 there. I didn't know, you know, nothing's gonna happen that fast, because some sort of design was gonna have to happen. And if we need to buy any property or anything like that, you know, I put 60,000, I lowered that 40,000 to 60, just to have some money there in case we do proceed forward. Or I'm gonna have to do something with that shop over there. I mean, all these little out shops we always talked about making a centralized unit in our Rockford, so that may go north there and south there, which almost makes sense. Just a matter of finding the property and doing it, and committing that money to it. I mean, you guys know,
It does
dealing
make
with that
sense.
law enforcement center, you know what you're dealing with here. I mean, you almost have to invest in that to get that, but I don't think we're there yet. We've talked about it for a few years. I've drug my feet just like a lot of things. I'm like, okay, we'll make him do, but. So I did lower that, but at some point, I don't know if we're gonna, you know, if I proceed forward, I have to have the money there to either look at finding a lot or something in Rockford. But- And that is everything there, except for we're gonna get to the construction, which is day labor. And that would be your last roadway construction. So right now I have put 3 projects in for my guys. I really only have 2 scheduled. I have a 3rd one in there in case something comes up. But we have a maintenance culvert that's not considered a bridge that I probably could do under that one too. It also lists $500,000 for the bridge north of the fairgrounds and back west. That has to be in my budget because I pay for that. That was one commitment by us as a county to use this 10-cent gas tax to pay for some of these structures.
Right.
After this year, I think I'm caught up enough to say, you know, we did the bridge deck overlays on 3 bridges. We did the bridge west of the 7 Mile corner, south and west and back west at 100% 10-cent gas tax. And now this is another one, so I think our commitment is we can start doing things at the, well, nowadays with the swap dollars, it's 100% refund, so. But it has helped us, I guess, gain control of our bridge funds, which is good. So last year's budget was obviously the big bridge, Frankie's Bridge on 170th. That one is at 80-20 because that was right before the swap thing went through. This one will be 100%, $500,000 hopefully, and there's no reimbursement because we committed that it would not go through the bridge funds. And so that's why that one is down completely, because it's 2 different head bridges from Frankie's down to 170th bridge, it's called that, to this smaller bridge over here north of the fairgrounds, so. And then I cut one project out, hence why some of the labor stuff transferred back to all the maintenance issues, so.
We should put a sign on that bridge.
Which one? We'll talk about that too. I had talked about the other side of it. So my budget is down a little bit from what it originally was last year. Grain of salt because of the bridge projects are different. I did add 400,000 for the asphalt maintenance project. That gives me a carryover. I said when I go through the whole thing about 853,950. That's the way the state thing works, but until I get those refunds back, I bet you that will jump up to about 1.3 to 1.5 million. Just once the refunds and everything else transpires out, and if we don't spend everything that's always budgeted. You remember mine, on a mild year, I still have to pay people during this winter. We do save on the overtime,
Right.
but then we had a lot of overtime with floods, so it was kind of a wash.
Yeah.
So, you know, to do this and do average overtime is good, but if we have a crazy winter that starts in November and goes all the way through, we're fortunate we're getting through January here, that's one closer sign to that spring thing. But then that way you don't have to amend it every time if you don't, if I went with 2,080 hours on all my workers, I'd be amending it before we even started, so
Right.
you'd have to base it on average overtime, so. Any questions? I know I go through it pretty fast. Mine's pretty fluid either way. I'm anticipating you guys are just still giving me just 75% of the.
That's what I said.
You see how I smiled?
We can
You see how I
adjust
said
it.
that?
It's like,
You know how I said that
yeah.
again? I just
We
got-
can adjust it.
We certainly-
I joke with you guys,
we
because I know it's been that way.
certainly
And seeing my carryover balance and be able to do the projects we're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's right here, yeah.
Oh,
So my assumption
You're
is that
joking
the-
as long as you leave it the same.
per the valuation of the 75%, my carryover balance isn't bad. And like I said, every year though, at some point, if I ever got to the point where funds do dry up and I can't do this and you see roads going bad, or we've done a very good job in the 18 years I've been here, and Lyle did it before me, of replacing some structures. And if we didn't, I don't know what we'd be doing. You're talking 3 for sure, if not 4 with a contract bridge in there per year in 20 years, you're talking 70 to 80 structures that were replaced just with our crews and the contract.
Right.
So at some point, if I ever that started going down, and I got to a point, I said, I can't do 3 structures, I can do maybe 1 or none. You're gonna see it, we'll be closing some bridges here and there, so.
You'll have to at some
Yeah.
point probably, but.
So I anticipate still doing the 75%, which is not a big deal, but I just always trying to reiterate that at some point, I may come back and say, hey, I don't have carryover anymore, we can't do this and this, we gotta figure something out, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there.
How's your balance has been like over the last 5 years? Are they pretty solid?
Yeah.
You know, not
If you look-
much change?
I would have said 2 years, like the year that just finished, which would have been 18, because we're in 19 now, yeah, and this is 20. But when I look at my carryover balance that I see in 18, at the end of June 30th of 18, 2 years ago I would have said I was at about $1.5 million to $2 million. Where am I at? 4 million. So my balance has been fluid enough. Some of this FEMA dollar does come back. I mean, we do, the cost and the emergency stuff is 100% reimbursable during regular hours.
Right.
But when it's replacing rock and all that, it's just the overtime on labor. But you do get the rock cost back. So we not only salvage the rock out of the ditch, and I don't like saying FEMA's good because I could care less if we ever see FEMA or floods again. I don't.
Right.
Something's got to hopefully change,
Yes.
hopefully for the better.
Right.
But that being said, to get some of that money back and allow that does help, because we're putting not only the rock we salvage out of the ditch, we're adding rock that wasn't, maybe we would have rocked it anyways. In fact, we did that this year. We did it about 3 times after the only FEMA declaration. We went and rocked it 3 times again.
Right.
So I'm sure we ate into it a little bit. I doubt that, in the current year I'm projected at 2.8 million.
Okay.
What I said that last year when I had this sheet, I was gonna grab it and I didn't. I bet you I was probably somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million. Well, it's better than that because of the refunds and everything else that kind of comes and goes.
To me, that just shows you're doing a conservative budget, and if
Right.
things don't go completely down the tubes,
Right. And we can talk about the revenues and that'll explain that, you're right. Because you want to be conservative, especially with the revenues, because if I would said I was getting $1 million in local option and I only get 500,000, I'm doing it the wrong way. Because then I'm saying,
Almost
well,
went down that road.
yeah, oh yeah, they almost said I would have been hurt if we didn't have repass
Yeah.
that. But, good questions. I said if something comes up after you leave, you guys want to visit me individually, come down, I can explain more
Sure.
too. Do you want to go over the revenues then for 20? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right, page 1 basically is the 500,000 is what I do conservatively for local option. If you look back in 18, I had 612,000. The previous year, 641. I only budget over 500 just because I'm concerned that when
Right.
sales are down and
Mhm.
times are tough and people don't want to spend money locally. So I'm getting that 500,000 what I put. The road use tax, that's what's allocated, shown to us by, I get a sheet from the state. Shut this off. Just to show you, I have it here. Yep, there it is. Just a sheet from the state that basically talks about Floyd County, what we would get on road use tax. Then it's the Time 21 program that was initiated 12 years ago, whatever it was. So my total is the 3,436,003. This is what we pay to the small towns under 500. I get their farm and market extension road use tax that comes to me, but we did 28Es with all these towns to give them that back. So even though that's a revenue to me, I also kick it back to them.
Oh, I see.
Just because Lyle did that back before I started, so there are some counties that keep a portion of that. Like, because that is for the whole road in those towns, farm and market extensions, right away to right away. But I give them all, but I still maintain the center 22. Some counties, like Howard County, will keep their portion on a percentage basis to maintain that center 22 feet of that money they're given. It's $1,000, $2,000. So I think Lyle did it back in the day to say, hey, we're gonna maintain the center 22.
Yeah.
But I also do not want the jurisdiction of those sidewalks, signs,
Right.
the city,
Right.
anything in the city that
But you
they
said
would
it's what,
maintain.
what's the size population?
Under 500.
Under 500.
And it has to get to 750 if it ever were to change back, because they don't just, at 501, they fluctuate too quick. And then, so there's other towns, so there's the 4 towns, here's it, Rudd, Caldwell, Marble Rock, and, oh, I'm missing a town. Nash?
We don't have Floyd?
Floyd, yep.
Rockford more than 500.
Floyd,
Yeah, that's.
yeah.
Rockford and North Springs. are-
Rockford, North Springs are all, and obviously Charles City are all.
Right.
There's no real farm market extensions in Nashville, that's not an issue on this. So yeah, so we turn around, I kick that back, and that's just agreement there. So that's what I use by for that numbers.
Sure.
You get down there and that intra-county reimbursement, that's just what Chickasaw pays back to us for my services for half of me here and half of me over there. That transfer jurisdiction fund, that's one I talked about, cities under 500. And then there's just some miscellaneous receipts, trip permits, money I get in the office for permits, and same thing on used material when we kick stuff off, if we get like metal
Pretty
bin
conservative
stuff.
there.
Which one?
That one.
Yeah, well, some of the sale, I mean, if we sell an old pickup truck or an old dump truck or something like that, you know, it's kind of one of those, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get 5,000 or 10,000. Which, by the way, I did talk to Adam from Conservation,
I was just thinking when you
and
said.
he said, I've got those 3 trucks that are gonna be going out a year from now. I told him, Calvin told me which one was the best of the 3, and I told Adam, in his budget, he asked me, how much should I budget for if I buy one from you? I said, well, I'll sell it to you for what I'd say they were gonna give me for it. So I have that option, and he's aware of it, so I told him 15,000, because I think it was anywhere. He wasn't sure what to budget, and I said, I think what they told me was anywhere from 13 to 15 on the trade, so I'll sell to him at whatever cost I would've got, which is a decent truck. Last page, I guess, that's that 90%, not 90%, look at me, oh my gosh, 75%. I get 90% tickets out of the RSP, but I get 0 of the GB, so that's why, sorry, I was stuck on the 90. Quote me on that, somebody? Just kidding. So that's just the 75% of each, per the valuations. I was trying. So that's all the revenues basically that come in, pretty cut and dry, actually. Wishing one hand and spitting the other, see which one fills up first. Yeah, that's what my mom and dad did. Okay, any questions on that? That's my budget overall. You know, can be tweaked. Like I said, I like the idea of having a little bit of asphalt money in there. I think with that farm to market thing that I showed you guys before, and I know I didn't get you one yet. I'll re-up those numbers along with my graph spreadsheets that I do every year.
But I've seen them in the past.
Yeah.
The T38 project, how big was that?
How big?
That asphalt, what was the number?
3 million.
3 million? Is it?
Because we're going 7 Mile Corner all the way. At one time I had stopped off at 346. I mean,
Oh, that's
at Highway 18 north. But I said, let's go all the way down.
There, from the 7 Mile Corner to the avenue is getting rough.
Yeah, it is. And we're gonna try, we're doing, so yeah, we need to do the whole thing. There are other roads, I mean, we did that first year I was here. So it did not last as long as I thought, and I think it was the mix they used, that's why it's not lasted as long as we thought. There are some other roads that are older than that one, because I said we did that one the first year I was here. Problem is, it was,
Is that shouldered the whole entire way?
yep,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, we did that too with that TIF money, windmill money, the shouldering, to get 4-foot shoulders.
South of you, I'm gonna go that way. That's,
That was part of it, I think most of it's okay there.
most of that dirt came from that viaduct that was out by the Superior Lumber.
I don't know if it
I
came
know-
from there.
I
Did it?
know, did a
Okay.
lot of that, that was way back when Lyle was still there.
Okay. Yeah, some of that might have been done before. The areas that weren't done were from the windmill money. I think they, I don't know where they got the dirt from. But that was, with the TIF money. Okay, we can jump to, wanna jump to the sanitation, collection site out. Nothing crazy there, you guys. I mean, really, probably the biggest thing would have been the insurance increase. A little bit increase. Then I just added separate for temporary employers,
So it's-
employees.
Doesn't really change a whole lot.
No, that was the
other than,
question
like
when
said,
you had stepped out,
insurance.
that, that compactor whole system was 20, I think it was about 20 grand, like I said, there was two bids on that. And I got a message in to Alan Paul right now, he's supposed to call me back. I don't know if we need to look at a new compactor out there. Do we add 20,000 to this somewhere? Whether it's general supplies, you could add it from 30 to 50, but you'd have to make sure that you have the money to do it too.
How old is it?
Bought it in 96. That was the quote I had, it was
Wow.
in
Last year,
January.
you guys were up there well,
Yeah, they welded a piece of it, but it's just, it's,
It's,
I asked Joe Calvin this morning, I said, so what's the depreciation value of it? He said 0, or 100%, 0.
You must only use 2% on the salary. increase.
$88 a ton.
So my number shows.
Yeah, I think what I looked at is, I might have had 3,600 in there, but then I 36,000 in the current year, but I think that was a little low, because I did, what I have in there,
That's a 2% increase.
okay, but if you
so-
looked right below at the 1,800, I didn't have a number in there for part-time employees, so I think I was eating some of that in the top line item,
Okay.
so I think we switched that
I think
out.
that's correct.
Yeah, so I think we switched that out, hence why I did that, because we went to a regular, with her vacation and everything else on the 5-day work week, I think it was kind of whatever. I think it
Just
all fell under the 2.
When we get, eventually, when we get talking about actual raises, then we need to
Oh, yeah,
look at what the true cost of that is.
okay, but there's really nothing crazy there unless, the only thing would be seriously is if I get a call from Alan, I can share with you guys, hey, I may just do an email and say, do we want to bump this 20, I don't know. I said, I don't even have a number for you
we'll
guys.
find out.
And I know it's a cost, but at some point, it's
Probably 96.
service we provide, I mean, you're 22 years old. Yeah, 23. Keep forgetting it's 19. 23 years old, yeah.
I keep bringing that up, that's a tremendous service to
It is, it really is.
That's a sign
$140,000.
of something.
Yeah, I know it is.
And I think a lot of people would hate to lose that out there.
Yeah, so that would be one thing that I did not put in here, and I probably should have got it before, and I started thinking about it, and I went to the wayside, and then they talked about it this morning, I'm like, oh, shit, since I'm talking to you guys about budget, maybe we need to look at that. So before you finalize, just remember that we.
So you're gonna get numbers on that?
Yeah,
just
I'm
so we know?
hoping
I
Alan
had
will
it
call me
written
back.
down as a note. too.
Okay.
Okay,
Why
just
don't
in
you do
case.
that? I would.
And I'll just
recommend you-
probably email each of you, that way you've got it, and then
Okay.
say, hey, we need to bump. I would probably just put it under that general supplies, because I don't know where else you would put it.
You probably, if it's a $20,000, over $5,000 item, it needs to be capitalized, so we don't
Yeah.
have
Okay.
600.
All right, cool, whatever you have to do, that'd be fine with that. And I haven't heard anything different on the closure cost, I mean, that was around 1,200, we upped that a couple years ago, because it used to only be 1,000. So we left it at 1,500 just to be safe, that's $1,500 you never touch unless we're gonna close it.
Right.
It just has to be there and allocated.
You can do that with an insurance policy. You don't have to have that cash,
Oh,
but for that amount.
it's not, yeah, you're just sitting there and,
Yeah.
Not like the landfill, where that would be one
2.6
policy.
million.
How many million? Yeah, exactly.
Post-closure fund, 2.6 million, but we have 8 just in case.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Conservative
Just so you
budget.
know.
And then the last one would be the road clearing one, which is category 41. That I've never changed all the years I've been here. It's always hit and miss. Typically, we'll pay some different things out of there, some small equipment, whatever, and then when they get to the end, we do I think it's a transfer. It's a transfer, what is that one?
Yeah.
Just a transfer that you just
do a
cover,
transfer.
because my budget on that, like I said, is, show you what my budget is, I said it was, but I
Do you
was.
do any contracts there? I mean, actually, no. That-
185,000 and I only get 92 of it back, and that's part of the expenses, so I absorb the rest of it, but, it's kind of one of those hit and misses. So we try to do as much spraying as we can. Right now, we're going town, that's what this is covering.
Yeah, and it's actually one of those things where you could offset the money that you give him by what you give him in that. I know.
Just like local option.
Right.
I just have to say, because I keep saying 90%.
I get 90 cents and I still get 100.
We'll talk about that until
Hey, I get
after
100.
meetings.
Okay, I get 110,000 in road clearing in Chickasaw, and I get 90% over there, and I get local option over there.
They like
Do you want us
you.
to do what Chickasaw's doing?
And, yeah, your point being,
Why don't you have local option here?
They do. I get half of. Okay, here's how it's set up over there. I get half of it over there, which I always used to only get, so 300,000. Let's just say that. Now, 5 years ago, maybe it's longer than that. Maybe it's been 8 years ago. They took the other 50% and went to a vote, and I get 40% of that, but I don't get it. It's put in an infrastructure fund, which still could be given to me, but they decided to have the auditor keep it in a separate infrastructure fund category. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking auditor in general, in Chickasaw.
in Chickasaw, I know.
And then when I wanna do a project, I just have to, they have to budget it though, like
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah,
I said, why didn't you just give it to me? Because I'm budgeting projects left and right. It would make it a lot simpler for those
Right.
that don't think they can keep track of it.
yeah.
And not enough people to keep track of it.
It's
And then what I do
control,
is,
your control.
yeah, so it's only allocated to
It's
secondary
only,
roads.
if you have something else,
It's
if
only-
you actually want to build a courthouse or
The
whatever.
10% or the 40%?
The 40% is in this infrastructure, I get 50%, 40% goes to infrastructure fund that can only be done in projects for me. If that makes any sense. Hence why I said, why don't you just give it to me and then I'll do projects.
Because it's only for your use.
Yeah.
Who gets the other 50%?
The other 10% goes to, I get 50, and there's 40% as
Right,
infrastructure,
and
so
then
that's
there's
90%
10%,
that
okay.
technically comes to me, technically.
Who's the other?
If you went through, the other 10% is
Economic
to,
development or something, isn't
no, I don't know if it's economic development or if it's for relief of, not property tax.
it? I don't remember.
It's something different,
I
yeah.
don't know what to do.
But
I
the
know we
local
tried
option
changing
sales
ours
tax.
and it failed.
You get 100% of it, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to go towards
I
property,
mean, that's-
and that's what we passed.
What?
That's the way the election was.
Election was
For
for
us.
Secondary
Yeah,
roads.
for us.
structures,
Right.
roads.
We tried adjusting
Yeah.
it. We had an election that
Yeah.
failed with
Yeah.
Right.
switching it up.
That's why I said we were almost going down.
Oh, you
that
tried to
road.
change it?
We had an election, do you remember when?
It's not
It's 500 something a year.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
It was about 8, yeah. And I panicked when it went to one way, and then I'm like, well,
Yeah, what do
right.
we do?
You take out
So we had to have a
600,000 of my
special
budget, guess where I'm
election.
at? Yeah, which, like she says, can offset the 75% minimums, because my annual report shows that as a contribution, which doesn't have to, it could be taken away from that 75% and still, like, our Lynn Warren did one year. And not tell me. I go back on that every time. No, but it's good, I mean, I understand that, but you just gotta remember the services, this is kind of the status quo, my carryover is pretty good, to go through that and then still provide what we do with the bridges we replace. I mean, Lyle did a lot before me, and then I know I've done 3 to 4 a year, and then plus our contract bridges, so
We've been
we're getting
very
those done.
fortunate.
I'll be on record if you decide not to
How many
move the
bridges
75.
do
You guys
we-
need to tell them.
Yes. No one wanted to tell me that
Skip it
year,
like Arlen Warren.
because I didn't find out till about half a year later, I think.
What was this?
So wait a minute, or maybe it was a year later, because I was doing the annual
I
report.
think it was when we were
And I'm like,
doing
wait a minute, that's not 7, what's that?
Never even missed it.
That was funny, actually.
So how many
I look
bridges-
back and laugh.
Yeah.
How many bridges do we have that are closed down?
Closed or, well, did I give you guys that map?
You did.
That map showed, that one I
Yes.
just gave you not too long ago,
Yeah.
shows the ones
Yeah,
that were
counted them.
currently, but then may have to be posted. As far as closed, yeah, sorry. Oh gosh,
7?
I'm just trying to think which ones I would tell them. One north of the fairgrounds is one that closed recently.
Well, do you consider
George-
that one over there by
Bogey's
Bogey,
Bridge.
you know?
Well,
Is that
Because
one or
they
is that
closed
two?
that.
That's technically two. The approach structure is considered a structure too.
But we've got some over on the Shell Rock that are closed, don't we? They've been closed
Corsica?
for a long time,
Corsica.
though.
Corsica Alley. Corsica Alley was one we closed years ago west of Marlboro, I come back north, but that's dead end. So that's why
Yeah,
that
I mean, it's
was-
been forever, it's been
They
closed.
just decided not to do it. I mean, we could still put one in.
Right.
You know, there's gonna be points though, I mean, look at, you try to take some of these bridges off, and then, you know, this still comes back with the inspections, and they're deteriorating, and like Winship closed 8 bridges last year. And I'm like, I hope we don't have to. see
Well, and the
that.
question comes back to, do you have a bridge every mile like the roads are, or do you go
Right.
2 miles?
Well,
In
and how much
Winship
traffic
County,
is
which you
on
saw,
it.
you can have 2 or 3 bridges in the same mile, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just
and that
2?
makes a big
Yeah, you
difference.
gotta learn that. That's why I said, you know, Chickasaw's got, we got 100,
You were actually in
260.
Albuquerque, Waukon is in Albuquerque, but
Right.
Winnebago is the next one over. And the two are virtually the
I
same.
mean, and that's why even like Chickasaw, I got 260 some bridges. Here I got 100 classified as bridges, 180, 190. You know, it's you got when you got the Wapsie, you got we got the Cedar,
have a
and the Little
lot of
Cedar,
bridges,
and all
yeah,
these.
we
And
do.
Right.
But again, I think, you know, valid point that depending on how close those bridges are, you know, and then all of a sudden they're all in
yeah,
need of
yeah.
repair. I mean, decisions gotta be made. I mean, is there enough traffic, you know, to support spending your
Right.
money on it?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at a Google map of the United States, and it's not very much of the United States has square
Oh.
1 mile.
Iowa,
Yeah, exactly.
center.
And,
of Iowa.
and then the other thing happens, Linda, is that you close a bridge, the traffic patterns change,
Well, they
you know? I mean, you know, you say, well, you've got to drive a mile farther, which is 3 miles farther to get someplace,
Well,
but,
I'm sure we'll have a
These
couple
bridges
closures, whether we
will
replace them or
last
not. You know, we replaced that one, like I said, but 2 years ago. Should we replace that one?
I know.
You know, it's access across, and it would be hardship
Well,
sort of, and then
I
some by the
still think about
fairgrounds
that
too.
Kukan Bridge, I know everybody wants it, or some people want it, but we got a really good bridge every 2 miles now. You know, is that one truly necessary? Is there something else that we're gonna?
We're doing design right now, so I hope it is. But there again, the bridge fund is actually fluid enough where now it's not as big of a deal per se than maybe if I was 5 years spent ahead, because a few years back, I mean, I was fiscally constrained, they weren't gonna let me let a bridge in either county. Lyle did a good job spending that money, and I continued that, but at some point, we kinda caught up, and now we're doing 2 of these bridges locally. That's helping that bridge fund build up, because you know what's gonna happen. Go to the very north end of the county and see the river.
Well,
That
yes,
500-foot
that
bridge
Orchard-
structure there, that's
I call
gonna
it the
cost.
Orchard Bridge. I don't
That's
know
gonna
which
be
one.
huge.
That one's in pretty tough shape.
Yeah. and
which one does?
It
Steve?
is.
If you go all the way north of T-38 back east, and it's the last bridge in this county on the Cedar. And it's about a
Cedars-
350-foot long now.
Cedars Landing,
Yep,
the
yep.
conservation
Yep,
area.
they used
there.
to put in for
You
canoe.
know, at
Bridge.
some point, we're gonna have to make sure I get the money in there, then I can be so far, without losing it, I have to go to the exec board and say, hey, don't take my money away, because I need to do this
That's
$2 million,
long.
$3 million.
Number one, it's half the length it should be probably.
And then as
And
you
it's
get to the
high.
north end and you're like this, so that's gonna have to change somewhat.
Is the one north of Kukans, is it gonna stay the same direction, or is it gonna get changed at all? Is it gonna replace it? Is the plan, if it gets replaced, when it gets replaced, is it same?
Pretty close, yeah, it'll be offset a little bit to the west.
Okay.
Because there's quite a curve there on the other side.
Yeah, when you get on there, you go this, but it'll just be coming straight, and most will allow for overtopping the road. So that might help save, because it's still gonna jump the road to the south, like it always does.
Right.
So we just kind of offset to the west and then do that. We got some culverts to do with on the north end and stuff. but-
Okay.
Yeah, all that work that's being done up there already is,
I know. Surveying.
yeah, archaeological. But- No, you guys got questions, seriously. I mean, I'm gonna start working on all those reports I usually give you guys too, just so you can see where money's coming and going and rock and carryover balances, and then I'll have the farm market report too, that kind of shows you where we're at and stuff. Because that'll get to the NIACOG, which I got a meeting next week on NIACOG to discuss, and then start getting ready for our submittals for federal aid projects and state projects, and that'll be finalized, and then I'll have to be submitted by April 15th, so.
Have you had any more discussion with DOT over there on the Floyd right-of-ways and all that?
I have not, I haven't heard anything really either.
Okay.
Yeah, I know,
'Cause
I know they were doing survey work there and all that stuff for a while there, because that's part of their preliminary design stuff to
They
get
did
to
some
that
But we
chapter.
also, they were gonna go back
Construction
to
of
the
the-
drawing board on some of that too, you know, after we discussed it.
Because we met with them about frontage roads and all that stuff, Linda was
Right.
there, me and Dwayne and Brian, the DOT person, and
So I'm hoping.
giving
we
some
can-
county frontage roads, and I'm just like, really wasn't happy with us having to find that way to get to these little frontage roads in the middle of a 4-lane.
I mean, now's the time to be able to have that discussion,
We
and see if
were-
there's an alternative
One of
way
the
to
plans,
address
we would
it.
have assumed, Floyd County would have assumed about 5 miles and 2 structures.
Yeah, and the last one, which we went and sat in on, they kind of close this, close that, close this, but then add this, and then add lanes down here and here, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get a motor grader to these things on
It
a
was
65
just
mile an
not
hour
ideal.
4-lane. Oh, a good idea. The only other thing I want to talk about, I don't know if you set any time up, because I had the landowner and the renter come in on Beaver Creek watershed.
We need to complete that.
Okay. I drew up, I got some big printed maps, aerials of the area that's in question from this land, from the
Okay.
renter. That's what we're at.
Yeah.
Is it
well,
Dwayne?
You around, I'll swing by and talk to you.
And I want to make sure, and then I think the Cheryl, I can't remember her last name, she's the owner.
Meek?
Yes, there you go. Up there, she's the one who owns the property, but then, what's it called, I think Dwayne is the one that is farming it. You know, that retention site on that Beaver Creek 4 is, or 5, site 5, 4 or 5, whatever it was. It's 200 feet from where they said the problem is, and I don't get it, but I do. But I said, well, you need to come, and so they had asked again if there was a need. I said, well, we haven't really talked about it anymore, so.
No, I know,
So something will come of it. I had forewarned Yankee Colby also, SEH,
yeah.
and that guy, that Bob Largett, who was the main guy on that, he still works for them, so.
He does.
I talked to
Really?
Mike Damberg, and who's the president of the company, whatever, and I told Mike, I said, well, maybe something come out of it, so just so you're aware of it, we maybe get a hold of you, because I want to get all, the Floyd County needs to get everybody on board with
Right.
this. And then they complete their case, and whether I agree or disagree, I don't know. I was trying to be devil's advocate to say.
There's no
I'm
money
sure.
left in that watershed.
No, none.
Floyd County is 100% obligated if there's costs.
Right.
Floyd County taxpayers.
You know, the watershed itself did not change, and that was my comment. Whether the retention ponds are there or not, there's still one pipe running through that allows the same amount of acres to drain the same place. Just,
Right.
it's just supposed to hold back it so it doesn't come off.
Right.
I don't know if that comment was good or bad and different when I talked to, to Cheryl and to Dwayne, but they need to plead their case and go from there. It's pretty simple. I could be done. You could send our dozer out there in an hour. We
It's
could
not
probably
every
solve the
big deal,
problem.
but, yeah.
But I don't know that this caused the problem to begin with, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
More discussions, I guess. So. Anything else, you guys?
Thanks.
Anything else?
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, let me know.
Sounds good. Did we have anybody else?
Yeah. You've got Frank, we just need to call him when you're ready, but if you want to do, I've got a few more for you if you want.